Fellow cardboarders, welcome back, and a warm welcome to all the new subscribers. As of the filming of this video, we are only 71 subscribers away from reaching our 500 subscriber goal. So if you are a vintage card enthusiast like I am, do consider subscribing to support the channel. But now it's finally time to revive one of our old video segments. And since accumulating vintage cards for set cubes is a big part of the channel, I figured I'd create a little new segment animation. Welcome to Quest for Cube. Now before us we have 5 letters which are gonna pop in a second. Most of them are from private sales, even 2 from overseas here. And the difference between Quest for Cube and our mail time segment, Cardboard Haul, is that it mostly includes cards for my set cubes. So now without further ado, let's hit into the first letter and put the others aside here for a moment and see what the first letter is all about. So for this first letter, I paid around 200 bucks for the whole package here. I will show the individual prices for the respective cards as always. And at the same time, I wanted to have a little discussion with you about vintage and especially vintage reserved list cards. But it also applies to non-reserved list cards, for example, like the Infernal Medusa here. This whole order contains signed cards. This one I still needed, and I think I only needed one of these. I'll show a little animation probably here in the corner so we can follow along the completion of my different set cubes. So for this one, for the Legends set cube, I only needed one, and this one is the one that I was missing. And this is really nice and crisp. Signature by Anson Maddox here, great artwork, and I guess an okay effect for 5 mana. I think today we would have a stronger card printed with the power creep that is going on today. We got the black mana battery here. There is a whole cycle of mana batteries. They are not especially good in any way. They're like weird and slow mana rocks. And I don't even think in a draft these would be any good, and I probably wouldn't draft them. But I still needed one, and this is the one of one I needed. Also signed, and I'm glad to have it. We have a Blight here, signed by Pete Venters. This is also a U1 and the only one I needed for the set cube therefore. Then we have a spicy one, a Desert Nomads, signed by Christopher Resch, who is sadly no longer with us, which is why cards signed by this artist are more expensive. So do look out for counterfeit signatures and only buy from trusted sellers and sources you know. This one will go into my Arabian Nights set cube, and I will show on screen how many I have. I think I have 0, and how many I still need, and the non-signed versions are way cheaper, obviously. So yeah, that one is in great condition as well. It has a little speck here. Oh no, it's just finger smudge, I guess. So yeah, very nice condition also, very beautiful signature. I'm glad to have this one in my collection. Now here is a special reserved list one and a unique card, which is the Field of Dreams, also signed here by Kaya Folio. And this card has a very unique effect of everyone having to play with their top card on their library face up, so everyone can see what the next card is they would draw, and that makes Commander games much more fun in my eyes. This one will be for the set cube and certainly is an interesting card to be drafted, to know what your opponent is about to draw. If they're drawing a counter or a creature you might want to remove. This is a rare, and I waited for the price to come down a little, and that's one of the points that I want to make in regards to a reserved list card, is that these are quite cheap right now compared to their highs from where they were like 1 or 2 years ago. So let's put this aside, open the next letter here and continue this discussion. This one is from 3 for 1 Trading from Vienna, Austria, and I've bought several times from them have always been very content with their card condition. Their prices were great, so people on the channel know that I do enjoy buying from them. So let's see what we have here and see if we are content as always with their quality. I always like that they throw in some extra token here. So we have a clue token, cute, and then we have the Elder Landworm here as a rare from Legends. Very nice card and very weird and unique effect. But I guess if I would pull that in a booster pack in a draft, I think I would pick it if I play white. So it has to block first until it can attack, and then it has trample. And a 5/5 for 7 back in the day was quite okay. And the condition is very nice. We'll check for inking in the end as well. And then we have our next reserved list card. And this one has a little bend down here, which I obviously knew about. I asked for pics and they sent me what was wrong with the card, which was the little bend down here, which is barely noticeable on the back of the card in my eyes. And the card, besides that, is very clean. And this was why I bought it, since it was relatively cheap. And this is another weird reserved list card. And if you are holding out on buying, or were holding out because prices were too high, and you are considering buying the one or the other reserved list card, maybe you want to look around in the upcoming weeks or months, since I don't think prices will fall that much lower. Obviously the prices will calm down a little more, probably, but you never know when they're gonna go up again, and you don't want to miss out on that moment when they go up again, since then it will be probably too late to buy the card you wanted in the first place. So now Gravity Sphere is a weird enchantment for 3, which is also very interesting in Commander, but takes away the flying ability from all creatures. So you're not putting this into a dragon deck, obviously, but in political decks maybe, or decks that have trouble blocking flying creatures, like for example goblins. And flying back then was a very strong ability. Especially in a draft format, flyers are hard to deal with, and having this enchantment out can help a lot. This is a rare, I only needed one of these, and I got it finally in my collection. Reverberation. Also a weird commander card, and if I understand the card correctly, you could kill a player playing a Blasphemous Act with this card for 4 mana, since they will deal 13 damage to all the creature on the board, and that's 13 times, well, how many creatures are on the board. And that will kill most players. And I find it very nice and unique and weird. So if you haven't tried this card out in Commander, maybe you want to give it a try. There's a similar red version. I don't remember the name of it, but I will show it on screen. This card is a little used and has some scratches here, little whitening, but in my eyes everything within a reason. And we have the beautiful card Kismet here, also another rare if I recall that correctly. Also beautiful condition and an annoying card to play. This is a card that was reprinted in Commander 13 if I recall that correctly, and I don't know if it was reprinted again. And before that it was from Legends, and it's a pretty good card in my eyes. So when a creature would die, it is instantly returned to the battlefield and you get the enter the battlefield effect again, or the big beater you just lost, you name it, and just for 3 mana as an instant. Really nice ability. Got another clue token, okay. A Relic Bind, which is another U1, and I only needed one therefore. There will be a lot of rares and uncommons in this video, since I have most of the commons from the Legends set already. There's like 1 or 2, I think, that comes to mind that I still need, and I think one of them is in the letters here. This one is another U1, a weird fish for 5 with Island Walk, a 3/3. They really like the walk ability to be able to get to your opponent if they have the respective land on their side. In draft it is quite situational, so if your opponent doesn't have islands on their side, this is a 3/3 fish for 5 that doesn't do much more, so I don't think I would include that. But it looks fun, and I can check that off the list. Cut Wall of Tombstones, who gets a bigger butt when you have more creatures in your graveyard. Okay, doesn't deal any damage. And the card looks nice in condition. Very nice. Flash Counter. Oh yes, I think that was another common I still needed, if I recall it correctly. Yeah, I needed one of them, and these were both listed as played. They are used, but I can certainly use one of those two to finish out the set of 6 I need. And I will probably use this one since it has less whitening on the back, and as you know in this channel, I like to use the Dragon Shield translucent sleeves to give the drafting player a feel of playing old school Magic a little more by seeing the backside of a Magic card always throughout the games. And then I can't have cards that have too much whitening, so they will look marked and people could start memorizing how the markings on the back look, and this one would be a little too much whitening in my eyes, but I will just put that aside into a box and just enjoy it there. And then lastly we have a Wall of Shadows, which is another C2 I needed, and I need 6 of it to have enough commons to be able to play a set cube with around 10 people or so. Now let's put the cards aside here for a sec, clean up the table a little, so we can continue with the next letter, which is this big one here. That was quite a big package with a lot of tape. Always be careful when you put tape over the sleeve that the cards can stick up there. So always put a slip of paper over the sleeve and then tape that to the sleeve so that cards don't get stuck on there. But we got it out safely without damaging the cards. These are old retro basic lands. They will not go into the set cube, but these were just some extra cards I ordered, and I really like the old style of those portal lands. Oh, and an Agivian Find, right? That's a good solid card. If you don't know this card, I'll show it in English on screen here. This allows you for 1 white mana to instantly return an artifact or enchantment from your graveyard. And this has never been reprinted in my eyes. It's a solid card. I think it was on the list slot or something, but other than that, it has never been reprinted. And it's a solid card. It replaces itself with your best enchantment or artifact. If you don't have this card, this is, I think, $1 or so. And then you have it out of the way. Not a reserved list card, but just a solid card in my eyes. These two are more cards for the set cube. One of them is. Again, here careful with the tape. Finally removed it. Let's get those cards out and see what we got. A Yavimaya Hollow. Very nice. It's a German one. The English copy is on the screen. This one is maybe for a set cube if I ever build a Urza's Destiny one, but this one actually I acquired for my commander deck, or generally green commander decks. Since it comes into play untapped, it taps for a colorless. Color fixing in green is no problem, so 1 colorless mana doesn't really bother you most of the time. And it can just regenerate straight up any creature that you want. You could save your best creature from a destroy effect, or even play it politically and save an opponent's creature, whatever you want. And I already own a foil copy of this, but I also wanted a normal one to put into another green deck. And this is what I mean, these cards came down in price so much that cards like these, compared to prices from like 1 or 2 years ago, are so cheap that you could buy like 2 right now for the price of 1 from back then. When you buy cards like these, or generally reserved list cards, don't go all in and buy them all right now, but like just churn them away. Maybe every week, every month or so, just buy one or the other reserved list card if you really wanted it, really need it for some decks or whatever, or a set cube, like for me. And at some point these cards will go up again in price. And this is what I mean with the video title. You see how many cards I can afford with like 500 bucks. And don't get me wrong, this is a lot of money, but like compared to product from today, you can get 2 collector boxes for the same price. And most of the time, you don't even get half of your money back. With these cards, these can fluctuate in price. They will go up or down, but they will probably not halve their price again. But in the future just go up, and you have cards you actually want and playable pieces. So if you normally would buy a box of, let's say, the newest Ixalan set, you open them, sure it's fun, but most of the time you make like, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks in the end if you would sell them all. And you probably didn't even pull the card you actually wanted. For the same price you could get those 2 cards. This one is from Antiquities, the Hercules Recall. And I still needed a copy of this. Fun fact, the Hercules Recall is cheaper than the Power Artifact or the Transmute Artifact. It's a U1, so this is like a true blue rare from Antiquities. And the Power Artifact and Transmute Artifact are more commonly printed, but they are way more expensive since they're way more playable. But still, this card is very unique in effect and pretty good actually in a fitting deck. Either giving a player all their artifacts back to their hand for just 2 mana at instant speed when they swing with their Blightsteel Colossus can be backbreaking, or you have like a combo-y artifact style kind of deck and your artifacts have affinity or cost nothing and you get all the enters the battlefield effects again. This card can actually win you the game. Antiquities is a big artifact set, so being able to save your board or reset all your artifacts with this card is quite a strong card. And just imagine someone playing Vandal Blast and you counter it by returning all your artifacts back to your hand. This card had several reprints, and as you can see, it's not on the reserved list and it's still quite expensive. So I'm glad to have those cards out of the way. Let's hit into our last 2 letters here. Sorry for bumping the camera. There's another one from overseas and also contains some sellotape over the top loader, though this time the card is in a sleeve the other way around, so even if it would stick up, it would stick on the sleeve, not on the card itself, so that's okay, I guess. Okay, and here we have another Field of Dreams. As I said earlier, I also wanted one for my commander deck, so I got myself a second one since I thought the price was cheap enough to finally move into this reserved list card. Now I have 2 of these, one of it is signed and the other one isn't. This one will probably go into the set cube, and this one just into one of my more political blue commander decks. We'll see where it finds a home, but it's such a unique card. Condition-wise, very nice, just a little binder ding here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the faces of the people who have to play against this card, that they have to play with their deck revealed. We have reached our last letter. I hope you enjoyed this video so far. Do follow me on all the socials here, and let's end our quest for cube for today with this letter. This one was bought privately from a seller from Germany, and let's see about their condition. Let's hope the set for all of these is correct. Got a random throw in here. I think I did not order this one. Very nice. From Ice Age. Got the Orcish Librarian here. This one I think I ordered, cost a couple of cents. Maybe I want to build an Ice Age set at some point, and this one is just super silly. Library paste. Oh yeah, got a nice Chain Lightning here. Let's see about the condition. We got 2 markings down here, a little scratch over there, but other than that, yeah, really nice condition, and I'm glad to finally be able to play all 6 Chain Lightnings in my set cube. This was a common back then and cost around 10 bucks or so, depending on condition. Elven Raiders, very nice. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Some whitening on the edges, Some minor scratches here. Don't even know if the camera picks that up. But great condition. And this will be part of the set cube as well. This is a rare, by the way. I luckily only need one of this one. It's not really good. But I suppose it's better than the fish we had earlier. So this Leviathan here, side by side compared, I guess this one is better. But then again, if your opponent doesn't play any flyers or walls, I suppose they are at the same level. And lastly, we have a rebirth. At first, I figured that I did not want to play any anti-cards in my set cube, but I reflected on that a little. Back then, playing for anti was a normal thing. For those who don't know, you shuffle up your deck. Before you draw your hand, you remove the first card from the top of your deck, reveal it, and this goes into the anti-zone. Both of the players do that, and you play for these cards. So the player who wins gets both of the cards in the anti-zone and owns them from then on. And Wizards removed this kind of format quite quickly, since they were worried that in tournaments you would have to have like a gambling license kind of thing, I think. And yeah, generally it was a kind of like feel bad kind of thing to lose your own cards throughout games of Magic if you're not that good or aren't able to afford the most expensive ones. And yeah, they removed it. But this card, and this card also includes the anti-mechanic. There are only a handful of these, by the way. And for 6 mana, each player can choose if they want to have their life points set back to 20. And if they do that, they put an additional card from their library into the anti-zone. And if you're not playing for anti, you are not allowed to play this card. So this card is therefore pretty much banned in all formats, except if you play for anti. But I figured I would include the option of playing for anti in my set cube. So at the beginning of the game, we choose if we play for anti. All cards are owned by me. And in the end, I get them all back, obviously. But throughout several games we play, maybe we play like, I don't know, 8 games or so, you would lose up to 8 cards and you would have to put back cards from the cards you also drafted into your deck. So you always have a 40 card deck, at least. And I think this would be quite unique and a unique experience and also a fun experience. And if the table that evening wouldn't want to play with anti, you could just remove this card before drafting and everyone would be fine. But I think it would also be a fun glimpse into original Magic the Gathering, being able to play with anti again. But now I do want to hear from you. Wait, before we end the video today, we wanted to check for inking. So what you do is you take the near mint cards or the better condition ones, put them on the front and back, and then you stack them up like this. By the way, inking is when you check for black marker that was used to touch up the card, make them look nicer, but it actually bleeds through the cardboard and then you would have like some black specks on the side of the card. So you press them together and you check for that, and you see some yellowing on the sides of the card, but there's actually no black coloring on the sides of the card. You can see they are used, but other than that, nothing that stands out. So these are all in nice condition. No tampering has happened to those. And let's head to the outro. But now I do want to hear from you. Are there some reserved list cards you're waiting on right now? What's a price you would say you would be willing to finally move into that card and buy it? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and are an old vintage card aficionado like me, consider subscribing so we can reach that goal of 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Give the left button here a boop and click the right one for some more cardboard rectangle awesomeness. See you there. Try to let every day be better than your last one, and bye bye.